Okay, so where we left off in the last videos, we were working on rounds 16 through 23, doing the crossover long double crochet. Now if you're doing this for a child size hat, you may not make it to round 23. For myself, I only got to round 22, and this is how I figured that. So looking at the hat halfway, it needs to in the end measure about 7.25 inches for a child size. We still have several rounds to go. We have rounds 24 through 28 to go. So that's still 5 more rounds that we need to add. So the next 5 rounds are also going to be in the same height as single crochet. So what I did is I measured my single crochet stitches. And so it looks like for me, I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in 1 inch. So each one of my rows is about 1/4 inch. So that means that I need to stop my midsection at 6 inches. I need to stop here when this, from the very top of the hat to the bottom is 6 inches, is when I need to start row 24. So about right here to about right here, it looks like I am a little bit more than 6 inches. So I could either back out a round, leave one of these other rounds off, or just have it be a little bit longer than the average. Looks like I'm about 1 single crochet row longer than where I need to be right now. I'm just going to choose to finish it off so that you guys can see what the final product would look like. So starting with round 24, you join with a slip stitch from the previous round, you chain 1, and then you single crochet in the same stitch as the join. So it's just like we were doing with the half double crochet, except it's going to be with the single crochet. Then you'll single crochet in every single one around. And so I've already started that, and I have single crochet all the way around up until about right here. I have 2 more sets of the long double crochets, and I'm just going to single crochet into each one of these to finish it off. Okay, so this is the last single crochet in the last stitch of this round, and this round is joined with a slip stitch. So again, this was my chain, so that's not a stitch. I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to actually single crochet into this first single crochet right here. I'm going to have my needle under the loop, yarn over, pull through, and pull through all the way, and that's a slip stitch. I'm going to go ahead and stick my stitch marker back in. I'm going to put it into the last stitch of the previous round. And now I can start rounds 25 through 27. So rounds 25 through 27 have us do a chain 1, and then we're going to work a back post single crochet into the same as the join, and we're going to back post single crochet in each stitch around. So if you haven't done a back post single crochet before, what that is when you normally do a single crochet, you put the needle under these 2 loops. Instead of doing that, we're going to be going around the post. So there's a front post single crochet and a back post single crochet. A back post means that you go in from the back like this, and a front post means that you go around the post in the front. Okay, so this pattern calls for a back post, so we're going to be putting in our hook around the post from the back. Alright, so this is my first post. So I'm going to be putting my hook in here and pushing this post back, yarning over, I'm pulling the yarn in front of that post and back out the back. And then I have my 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through. That's my first back post single crochet. This has us work the back post single crochet in each stitch around, so I'm just going to continue with that pattern. Okay, so I'll try to stretch these out so you can see each stitch a little bit better. So we'll be sticking the hook in these holes, and then from the back, go in front of the stitch, out the other side, yarn over and pull that yarn through all the way, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. This is my next post. Okay, this one right here is my next one. Here's my next one here. And you can see how it starts to make this nice design right in front by doing those back post stitches. It looks like similar to a slip stitch, except a slip stitch will be really tight. Doing the back post single crochet is going to make it a little stretchy. I'm just going to be doing the same thing all the way around. So if you have the back post single crochet stitch down, go ahead and fast forward. Okay, that completes round 25. 26 and 27 are exactly the same, so we're going to continue in the same pattern of the back post stitch. She has us joined with a slip stitch on each round, so I'm going to insert my hook into that first stitch, yarn over and pull all the way through, and then chain one because she has us chain one, and then we're going to do a back post stitch. At this point it starts to get a little bit harder to see because the post is hidden partly by the one that we've already done below, but you can still see where the holes are. Here's one and here's one. If you stretch it out a little bit, that will help you see it a little bit better if you can't see it. So I'm going to go in this first hole in front of the post, through the next hole, yarn over, pull through, have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. Okay, and then so we have my hole here and my hole here, and just keep doing that all the way around. Okay, if you don't have the back post single crochet by now, go ahead and rewind a little bit and review it a little bit more. I'm going to pick up the pace because we still have 2 more rounds of the same thing, and I don't have a way to pause the video without completely ending it. Okay, I just ended round 26. Round 27 would be the exact same thing, and you would have another row of these patterns. See, it looks like the top of the single crochet is starting to lean down, because as you're doing that back post, it pushes the post back and the top forward, and so that's what we're seeing here. Let's see if I can turn this off if you can see better. So the top of your single crochet that looks like these, they're going all the way around. And so in her pattern, she has us do one more of these, and so it'll be 3 of those in a row. However, since my gauge was a little bit off and I need to cut off about 1/4 of an inch, which is about 1 round for me, I'm going to leave off round 27, and I'm going to do 28 now. So if your gauge is spot on, go ahead and make that next round, and it'll just look a little bit different. You'll have the 3 rows like the designer designed the hat to do. Okay, round 28. First of all, to finish the previous round, I'm going to need to join with a slip stitch. I have not done that yet. But then after that, I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet in the same stitch as the join, and then single crochet in each stitch around. And then we're going to cut the yarn and fasten off. And this is the same as round 24. Shouldn't be anything new that you haven't done before. I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'll go ahead and place my stitch marker back into the last stitch of that round. Here is my first single crochet of my last round, so I'm going to go ahead and join with my slip stitch, chain 1, and then that same stitch I'm going to do a single crochet. Alright, and then single crochet in each one around. Okay, just completed the last stitch of round 28. We need to join with a slip stitch and then fasten off, and then we can start with the brim. So if this is one of your first projects and you're not sure how to fasten off or weave in, I'll go ahead and show you that now. You're going to need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. I'm going to go ahead and do my slip stitch. You're going to want to leave about a 6-inch tail, maybe a little bit longer. And you're just going to thread your yarn through the eye of the needle just like you would in sewing. The difference between a sewing needle and a yarn needle, there's a couple of differences. First of all, the eye of the needle is larger, and then the end is blunt, so I could touch this and it doesn't stick me. There is a trick to getting these through here. I'm just not using it right now. Okay, and once you have the yarn through the needle, I'm sorry, I skipped a step. Before I can do that, I need to pull this all the way through. So I've done my slip stitch, I've fastened off, I need to pull this all the way through. And now I need to feed my yarn. Okay. And you're just going to weave this through the fabric. I like to do it on the back end, and you could just go in the middle of the stitches. I go up about an inch or 1.5 inches and pull through. You don't want to pull so tight that it affects the fabric. So if I pull really tight, you see how it starts to make the fabric come in. You don't want to do that tight. It still needs to be stretchy. It is a hat. But you don't want it so loose that it bumps up through here. And now I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to do that a few times, back and forth. Usually you don't want to do more than 3 because it'll start to bulk up the work, but you can carry it along a different section, and that'll help with that. I've gotten too tight. See if I can make that looser. If you do a good job of weaving in, it'll be really hard to get back out, but I think I want to get back out because it looks like I went too far in the front of my work, and I don't want that to show. So the trick I'm using here is I'm pulling this, you know how I said a moment ago how I can make it work tighter. I'm watching to see where the string is, that way I can pull it up. Okay, and I finally got to the point where I could pull out the section that I don't like. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, got it mostly done here. I'm just gonna make a decision. Now I'm gonna pull it up a little bit. I'm just gonna tuck it up under here as far as it can go, and then I'm gonna cut it off. I think maybe I'm just going to cut it off right here. So I'm trying to leave that last in. Okay. Now we also have to contend with the tail from the beginning. So you want to go ahead and weave that in as well. And for these I don't like to do more than one weave in for each each of these stitch rows because it'll start to, you'll see the lines if you do it too many times. So I'm just going to go through one and then up another. For that one I didn't have to cut anything. I also had one where I had to change yarn in the middle. So I'm going to look to see if there was any loose ends from that. Yes, there was a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Okay, if you wanted to leave it like that, this is a perfectly good hat. But the pattern does have you add on a brim, so in case you're interested in that, I'm going to go ahead and show you that part as well. Here's what the hat looks like right now. So a lot of hats in like this, and you can just leave it at that if you want. But if you want to add the brim, it has this join yarn at the 31st stitch. From where we fastened off. And then we're going to chain one, do 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And then here we start our pattern where we have the parentheses. It has a parentheses, it gives the stitches and it says do that 6 times. So we're going to repeat this 6 times, single crochet in 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. What this means is we'll do a single crochet, and then do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So you do a single, and then do an increase. We'll do that 6 times, and then we'll slip stitch to end the round. Let me put my yarn needle away so it doesn't get lost. One moment. Okay, so first we have to find where we fastened off. You can kind of tell in a way because it looks just slightly different than the rest, and plus there's like a little dip from our last one. So we fastened off right here, and it wants us to join on the 31st stitch. The reason why she's doing this is because this section is going to be in the back of the head, and the brim is going to be in the front. And so you will always want to wear the ugly part in the back of the head. So that's what this is, and that'll be at the very back. And so now we just need to count 31 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. We're going to join right here. Let me unravel some yarn. There are a lot of different ways to join. One of the most popular is just to leave a tail. Oh, you can't see. Hang on. Is to just leave a tail and then start crocheting and just join like that. Some people bring up the tail and they work the tail into the work as they're going. That way you don't have to weave it in later. The thing about doing that technique is it will make your first few stitches thicker, but the great thing is that you don't have to worry about weaving in the work later at the end. I'm going to do it that way. I prefer to do it that way. So it has this join, chain 1 and single crochet and the same as the join. So chain 1 and then single crochet. See how it looks a little bit thicker. For these, I like to do these stitches tighter since it's double the yarn. I try to do them as tight as possible to make them smaller and match the rest of the hat. And we're going to, oh, excuse me, we are not doing round 28, we're doing the brim. Alright, thankfully I didn't get that far. Alright, so join the yarn to the 31st stitch, we've done that. Chain 1, done that. 2 single crochets in the next stitch, so that is an increase. But I need to back up because I did a single crochet in the join. So you just join and then do 2 single crochets in the next stitch after that. 1, 2, and then we start our pattern. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So here's 1 stitch, single crochet, in the second stitch, single crochet, and I'll just cut off this piece that didn't wrap in. That was part of the tail. And so now I don't have to weave in a tail later. Okay, so I've done my 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches, and now I'm doing 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So there, you'll notice the difference in how it's written here. So in this one you're doing a single crochet in one stitch, a single crochet in the next, and this one is 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So that's 2 of them together. So in that same stitch, I'm going to do single here and back into that same stitch again, another single, working an increase. And it wants us to do that 6 times, so that's the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By the way, if you're using a really soft yarn, one that really falls easily and is very flexible, you're probably going to want to double up the yarn, because the brim is going to need sort of a stiffer or thicker yarn for it to be able to stand up and hold its shape. Alright, so we've done that 6 times. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So again, that slip stitch is I'm just going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull all the way through. Okay, it wants us to turn, so I'm turning. Now I'm working on the underside. Row 2 of the brim, we're going to chain 1. Okay, skip the slip stitch, and so we're going to begin working into our last stitch that we made, our last single crochet. We're going to do 2 single crochets in the first single crochet. So my first single crochet, remember it has the post, that's going to be this right here. and then single crochet in each one across. Skip the slip stitch that we did in the beginning. I'm assuming it must mean the chain one, because we did chain one and a slip stitch come up the same, but we didn't do a slip stitch when we started. So that might be a mistake in her pattern, but it looks like we're going to skip that part. Anyway, so single crochet in each single crochet across. Okay, and there's my chain. I'm going to skip that. And it says working into the band, so that's the part of the hat that we haven't touched yet with the yarn we just joined. Working into the band, single crochet into the next single crochet of the band, and then slip stitch into the next stitch of the band. So I'm going to skip this part because that was my chain. I'm going to single crochet into this one because that is part of the band on the head. The band of the hat, excuse me. Single crochet into that, and then a slip stitch into this one. Go all the way through. And this is one we're going to skip in subsequent rounds. And so the pattern continues like that, just like what we just did. We're going to be increasing each one. So to show what that looks like. We're going to turn, and we should have 28 single crochet stitches. And then rows 3 through 6, we're going to be repeating the same row 2 that we just did. And it says making sure to make the increase at the beginning of each row, and we'll fasten off after row 6 and weave in the ends. So move this up some. It's going to be the same as row 2. So I'm going to turn the chain 1. We'll skip the slip, and we'll do 2 single crochets in that first single crochet stitch, single crochet all the way across. single crochet into the next single crochet of the band, and slip stitch into the next one. Turn, chain 1, skip the slip stitch, and then that single crochet, do 2, and then single crochet across. So we've just done row 3 and we're working on row 4. Okay. Let's skip this one, single crochet into the band, and slip stitch. So into round 4, round 5, chain 1, skip the slip stitch, do 2 singles into that single crochet you did into the band, and a single crochet across. This is my last one. I'll turn and do one more time. I'm going to skip my slip stitch, do 2 singles in that first single crochet I did in the band, single crochet across, By the way, this part can start to look a little bit tricky on the side. This is a single crochet right here. It's kind of curved because of how we started it in the beginning. So this is my last single crochet, and this would be the slip stitch right here on the end. So do my single crochet here. Skip this slip stitch, single crochet into the first one on the band, and then slip stitch. And at this point, that's round 6, so we are going to fasten off. So about 6 inches, maybe a little bit more. Go ahead and cut your yarn. Pull all the way through. Alright, and then get your yarn needle. Some people like to use a paper clip or another string to pull this through, which is a handy technique to have as well. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to weave in on the back side of this. I'm going to use the rows. You may have noticed from her pattern that when you go in circles, it's called rounds. And when you go back and forth, it's called rows. And you don't have to go, so I'm going all the way across. You don't have to go all the way across if you don't want. You can go up and down. You can go diagonal if you want to. The key is you don't want it to show on the side of your work. And you do, most experts do recommend some kind of overlap, at least by an inch. What I mean by that is if you weave in one direction, go back in the same direction about an inch. You may notice I'm doing way more than an inch. I'm doing the same row, both doing it one way and then coming back and doing the other way. Okay, instead of trying to fight with this last piece, I'm just going to cut it. And we are done. And so this piece, the hat would go just like this. This would be the back, and this would be the front. So this would offer a little bit of shade for anybody who is wearing it. I actually really love this pattern. It is super cute, especially when it's on. And then you have the sun out of your eyes. So it gives that protection just like a baseball cap, but it looks so much cuter. So I hope you guys really enjoyed working on this project and learning some new stitches. The author, again, she has the same pattern in other designs, so you may try the fingerless gloves or the cowl or even the coin purse. It's on her website, and I believe that is in the pattern that I shared with you guys already. Alright, and I look forward to working on the next project with you. See you guys Saturday.